So it's a big deal in the sense that we have the first confirmation that a crime was committed in Obamagate, a federal crime. There was a crime committed in order to spy on Donald Trump. And I know it's Carter Page, the FISA warrant, but it was about getting Donald Trump. First up is the big news of the week, I think the most significant development, which is the filing of a criminal information complaint or criminal information document concerning Kevin Kleinsmith, who is a former attorney. I think he's a former attorney at the FBI who criminally altered a document, and evidently he's going to be pleading guilty. As I suggested to you last week, or in the last some prior updates, I've been talking about this repeatedly, is that the Kleinsmith prosecution was not unexpected by Mr. Durham. He was referred to the Justice Department for prosecution by the Inspector General. So this is what happened. Remember, there were 4 applications, the first application and then the renewal applications to spy on Carter Page. And in those applications, they had, at least in 2 of them, they had known that the FBI, and according to this document, that the FBI knew, the Crossfire Hurricane team knew that Carter Page was working with the CIA, that he was a source for the CIA. And they didn't tell the court that. So there were at least 2 applications where they didn't tell the court that. And then the 4th application, just before it was filed, Kevin Kleinsmith followed up with the CIA on specifics about this issue because Carter Page went public with the fact he worked for the CIA. So you can imagine they all went crazy over there at the FBI, the anti-Trump gang there at the FBI in the Mueller operation. And so the CIA, according to this document that's been filed, sent a note back saying, yeah, he's an operational contact, and we already sent you a memo on this, and they reconfirmed it. Well, what Kleinsmith did is he forwarded it to his colleague who was setting up the application and added the words, he's not a CIA source, which is a crime. It's a false statement crime, according to Durham, and he's going to plead guilty to it. He could face up to 5 years in jail, potentially. So it's a big deal in the sense that we have the first confirmation that a crime was committed in Obamagate, a federal crime. There was a crime committed in order to spy on Donald Trump. And I know it's Carter Page, the FISA warrant, but it was about getting Donald Trump. Now, this Kevin Kleinsmith was an anti-Trumper. He talks about being part of the resistance, Viva la Resistance, in one of his text messages that was withheld from the American people for years, and Congress too. So this prosecution by Durham is overdue. It's obviously necessary, but as you might imagine, I don't think it's sufficient. So the big question is, will there be follow-up? Already the liberal media is spinning this as, well, this is just this one guy who did something wrong. It's not part of an anti-Trump conspiracy. I look at this, and of course, we all know what else happened. So that's just telling us to forget, drop all that into the memory hole. We all know that there were others involved in this misconduct. It goes all the way to the top, Barack Obama. Joe Biden was in on one of the meetings in the Oval Office, that key meeting. And the question is, are there going to be additional prosecutions? When I looked at the filing, it was kind of narrowly drawn. The one key paragraph I talked about references the, let me get it here on my phone if I can bring it up, that the Crossfire Hurricane team also knew and withheld material information from the courts. Of course, the FISA court hasn't done anything about it. They've yelled about it, but they haven't held anyone in contempt or sought criminal contempt proceedings that the court is able to do. So we don't know what else is going to happen. But the Kleinsmith prosecution or plea agreement is no surprise. I've been convinced that was going to be the case. And I've seen, again, no evidence that anyone senior in the Obama gang or the deep state operation against President Trump is going to be prosecuted. Certainly there's nothing here suggesting that they're going to be prosecuted, So this is good news for justice. And, you know, and putting the, and I don't want to underplay it. I also don't want to overplay it, but not underplaying means it shows you that there was a crime committed in targeting Trump. So the question I have is what other crimes were committed? And I think we should presume every prosecution related to Trump was tainted by this bias, by this criminal activity. You should presume that. And if you presume that, what do? Obviously, you do criminal investigations and you question everyone, and you don't let some people be immune from questioning, like Barr is letting Mr. Obama and Vice President Biden be immune from questioning. But if you're the president, maybe you pardon everyone. Pardon everyone caught up in the Mueller team, by the Mueller prosecutions and the subsequent prosecutions. Even folks who may have done something wrong, because I don't know, you know, who knows what was done in terms of the misconduct. I don't have any confidence in the fair administration of justice when it comes to targeting anyone in Trump world. And I think nor can the president. And if that's the case, everyone should be pardoned. I mean, we had this week this big hearing, this en banc hearing, which is when the full circuit Court of Appeals sat and heard General Flynn's mandamus petition, which is an extraordinary remedy, as I'll talk about later, to overturn the judicial adventurism against him by Judge Sullivan. I mean, it's pretty clear the judges are going to let Judge Sullivan do more victimization of General Flynn. I don't know how much more. I mean, some of those judges on that court, I've listened to appellate decision. As a non-lawyer, I've probably been in more appellate arguments or sat through them than pretty much any layperson out there. Certainly here in Washington D.C., other than reporters who cover this for a living. And I've never heard judges as impolite, aggressive, political as I heard in that argument. Sidney Powell did a good job. The lawyer for the government, Mr. Wall, did a good job because they said that Judge Sullivan has no business doing this as well. Now, in the end, Judge Sullivan may get pushed back, but I don't know. I wouldn't take any solace if I were General Flynn for the way that hearing went. And this is why the president should pardon General Flynn. And I know some of you say, oh, no, he should be exonerated. Well, he's never really going to be exonerated. I mean, the case may be dismissed. Do you think the Obamagate is going to stop going after him? Stop harassing him? And what other victimization will Judge Sullivan or any other court put him through? He should be pardoned. And he should not only be pardoned not for him personally, which is obviously important because of the miscarriage of justice against him and the abuse of a government authority against him. But remember, the targeting of General Flynn was about targeting the targeting of General Flynn was about targeting President Trump. So this was an attack on the presidency, the attack on the ability of the president to conduct foreign policy, which is one of his core constitutional powers. I mean, when you look at the courts talk about the presidential powers and how important it is, how important they are, and how much they should be respected, they say the presidential powers, and I'm probably misquoting it, but they say that they're at apex when it comes to foreign policy. That's how much deference the president has, and that's how much important, constitutionally speaking, the president's role is. And this gang, this Obama, this president, this Comey, they targeted that core constitutional function. And that's why I call it a malicious, seditious conspiracy, and that's why I think the president should pardon him. And certainly this criminal development. Remember, Obamagate is now officially a crime. We had an FBI lawyer who was instrumental in the spying, the illicit spying on the President of the United States and his team, admit to committing a crime to get it done. And frankly, there are a whole lot of others who probably knew about it as well, but I don't know if they're going to be prosecuted or not. As I said, I'm not confident. So what can we expect next? I don't know. Attorney General Barr has made it clear that just because it looks bad doesn't mean it's a crime, which is true technically. But if you're not investigating and questioning witnesses, I don't know how you can figure that out one way or another. And I'm not seeing the investigation that I think ought to be pursued by Durham. Certainly the president seems to share my concerns. He's concerned they'll go after the low-hanging fruit and let the upper-level people get away with it. Certainly there's precedent for that sort of miscarriage of justice. And he said the president, that Barr can either be, the greatest attorney general in history or an average guy. And the implication being, if he doesn't pursue justice adequately against those truly responsible at the top levels at the FBI, Justice Department, and Obama administration, that he will have caved. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, Judicial Watch will continue its litigation. And this is what I love about Judicial Watch. We appreciate the Justice Department needs to do its job. And one of the reasons it's doing anything is because of Judicial Watch's pressure. Because we make it more difficult for them to avoid doing their job. Not that they're incapable of doing it, but at least it's tougher for them to do it. We're getting documents that Congress doesn't get that otherwise would be hidden. And Judicial Watch is continuing to get documents. And so who needs an IG when you have Judicial Watch? And so those of you who support Judicial Watch, I think you can take credit for this prosecution, because I don't think it would have happened but for our diligence. And, to be fair, the diligence of others who have been highlighting this issue from the get-go. But I dare say it, that Judicial Watch was first in highlighting the corruption behind the targeting of Mueller, the targeting of Trump. And it's resulted ultimately in this prosecution. And I thank U.S. Attorney Durham for getting it done. I thank Attorney General Barr for getting it done. But I hope this is just the beginning, because if it's not, there'll be no justice.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.